Hi, it's Roger Hamilton again, and thank you so much for listening in for the second video. As you remember from the first video, where we talk about how to double your earnings and halve your stress, and I went through the basics of wealth dynamics, I said that in the second video, I'll be talking about how to build a $1 million team. And I also said that to begin with, there would be the 8 questions that I start every day with, which really get me in my flow because it allows me to center on the question, why? It's a little bit like going out into the sea where the waves get bigger and where if you haven't got yourself set on the horizon and got all your instruments set to where you are, it's going to be very difficult to be able to not feel seasick or feel lost or overwhelmed with the things that are happening in life. So let's get right into it. What are the 8 things, the 8 questions that I ask myself every morning? Every great wealth creator, every great success story has got a process of some sort they follow. And you may have your own. But this is the one that I follow. And do take it if you'd like to. Do modify it if you'd like to as well. But the key thing here is that this is all about 3 things. As you get into your profile and understand that your flow, as it takes you forward, will allow you to get into greater clarity, that this is about how you show up, which is how you become present to where you are, how you step up, which is about how you then commit to something higher, and how you give back, which is how everything that you're doing is then being able to find its way back into flow in the same way that a river always gives back to the ocean. And it starts with 3 questions. Question number 1 that I will always ask myself at the beginning of every day, and I start at 6 in the morning, and I'll get up, and I'll go make myself a big juice, and I'll sit down, and I'll meditate, and I'll come up with answers which are different every day to these questions. Question number 1 is always the same question: what am I grateful for? Gratitude fills you up no matter what. It doesn't matter how tough the day before was. If you start from that space of saying, what am I thankful for? What am I grateful for? There's always things around you that you're grateful for, and it fills you up at the beginning of the day. What better way to start to make sure that you're fulfilled and that you already have got a day which is worth living for? This leads to the second question. And this one is always an interesting one for me, which is, who do I love? Reason being that often you might think, well, you'd know the answer to that. Surely that's going to be the people you love most. But not always. Sometimes it's the person who you had a terrible email from yesterday. Maybe it's the person you argued with yesterday. And suddenly when you ask that question, their face shows up. And you can't help but change the way you feel about them when they show up to that question. And of course, it means how you're going to deal with that situation today could be quite different. That's why you should always sleep on a bad email. You should always sleep on an argument where you're then able to come back the next day refreshed. And especially if after a question like that, you're going to come in from a place which is not wasting excess energy, negative energy, or excess time when you could be going on to more positive things. And that leads to the third one, which is why. You'll notice there's a what question or who question and a why question here. Why am I so happy? I can't ever even ask that question without smiling because there's always things to be happy about. But I can tell you that this is the question that has taken me through dark moments. There's times in your life when it doesn't seem like there's anything you should be happy about. But when you ask this question, there's always things, even small things, to be happy about, and that just lifts you. It gives you present to the positivity of what's going on around you, and it gives you that energy to be able to really make a difference. That leads us to the next 3, where you go from show up to step up. Step up, we've got 2 and then 3. We've got number 4 and number 5, which are about commitment. Number 4, what am I committed to? What am I committed to is an interesting one, because often it's the things you weren't even thinking about that show up when you ask that question. What am I committed to could be my health. It could be a particular relationship. It could be my finances. It'll be something that probably isn't going so well and that I've probably had on my to-do list for a while. But from here, when this shows up, what am I committed to, and I realize what it is, then I'm able to then ask the next question, which is, how committed am I? This is about putting a charge onto some of the things that are on your list that you really know you should be doing. How committed am I to a particular relationship, to a success that's taking place? The moment you actually draw a line on that with one thing, you've got your top priority for the day. So this one here, how committed am I, is all about stepping up. And that leads to the final ones, 6, 7, and 8, which are the ones that allow you to give back. Give back fully to the world for just being alive today, to make today a masterpiece. You have number 6. And number 6, which is all about kind of your dance with the universe. For me, it's about asking the question, what is my intention? It's not even about a goal or a target. It's just a general intention. And I might have an intention just to have a fantastic day. I might have an intention that today is going to be the day that I treat myself to something, or today is the day that I'm really going to make someone else's day. So intention is about really saying, here is my promise to the universe today. And of course, there's nothing wrong with then shifting it around to see what the universe might want to do for you. And so my number 7, which is where all the magic happens, is to ask the question, what is my wish? What is my wish? When we talked about wealth dynamics yesterday, when we talked about the video on the different steps or the different lines within wealth dynamics, one of the key things behind the concept of wealth dynamics and these different energies is this concept of genius. That's why we have the genius test, this idea that we have a genius which is inside ourselves already. And that when we get to the purity of that, that shifts everything. Well, the plural of genius is genie. And when we think about that genie, that when you polish the lamp, then you end up getting your wish. That there is already a genie within you, and that genie is just waiting for your wish. And when you actually then make that wish, no matter how outrageous you might think it is, it's incredible when you start getting to flow how often it shows up. I might know that there's someone I need to have on my team. I might make a wish that that's the day that they're going to show up. I might have a wish that today is the day this amazing opportunity, which is going to surprise me, is going to show up for me to go to a new country. And sure enough, many times that will show up in that day or the day after, simply because I put it out there. And that leads me to the final one, number 8. And number 8, which is the big why question, is why am I here? Why am I here? Sometimes I might be in a different country and I ask that question and I'm thinking about that country. Sometimes it might be a particular time, like when certain people have shown up. And it's like, why am I here when they're here? And sometimes I actually think on a broader scale, when I'm actually thinking about just the fact of being here in the 21st century at a time when the world is in such change that I happen to be here right now. But whatever the question, the why, make sure that I show up with purpose and to make sure that I show up with intention and clarity, that I could actually quite easily not be here, that all of us could possibly not be here, just as many other people are no longer here on this planet, but we are. So we have that chance to make the difference, and we have that chance to really go into the day consciously, really making sure we're going to make the most of it. These 8 questions allow me to do that every day. And what's the most important thing is to not go into each day unconsciously, to go in without even realizing that this is a very special day, and even worse, coming in with the problems you had yesterday. Wipe it clean and start as you mean to go on. These 8, by the way, allow us to be of most value to other people, not just ourselves. And that's where I come onto this idea of the $1 million team. That it's not money that makes money, it's people that make money. And there's no question it will be other people that help you to make the money. It's going to be how you work collectively together to make it work. So the key thing is, well, how do I find the right team? How do I get the right people around me based on the fact that there are these 8 profiles, that your value is going to be someone else's leverage, which means that as you're creating value, if you create something, dynamo energies are very good at creating. Asking the question, what? That if you are creating something new, you're going to find instead of you having to go out and promote it yourself, there are people out there that already have got great markets, have got great customers, who would actually promote it for you potentially. That the blaze energy here, which is the who, could be people who are leveraging, as I mentioned, leveraging through magnifying. So we have here innovation. Innovation, which is creativity, leads to magnifying. Magnify is the way that we can leverage here, which then leads to timing, which is the autumn energy, which leads to multiply, which is the winter energy, or the way that we can actually make things simple and multiply them through. It's all about value times leverage, where your value is someone else's leverage. This one here, the blaze, the energy, will always go to this one here, which is the tempo. Tempo energy is the when, which is autumn energy. And then we have the winter energy, which is the question how. And this is steel. Now, what's interesting about this is a lot of us, we get people into our team, or we might actually end up, by the way, you might notice that there's some little fly flying around here. This is in the tropics. I am actually videoing this from my resort, Vision Villas, which is in Bali. And it happens to be at the beginning of a beautiful day. So we are actually sharing this beautiful little room in here with a number of God's creatures. So one thing I want to share with you about this is that in the same way that every animal is going to find that it has a natural habitat, every different profile also has a different natural habitat. If you set up the wrong profile in the wrong habitat, then you cannot expect they're going to stay, and you're certainly not going to get the best out of them. So what is that habitat? I call them the wealth foundations, and it's the most important thing when you're starting to find people that can work with you in your team. The wealth foundation is knowing, just like for a river to flow, first of all, there needs to be a mountain, that with the wealth foundation, for people to flow, first of all, they need to have the right structure in order to let them flow. And they're opposites. So for example, someone who is at the top here, who's very creative, they need something which is their wealth foundation, which is called freedom. Another word for freedom is significance. I remember the times in my life when I thought I wanted to work with somebody, but when I got in their team and they said, right, Roger, you go and just do this and this and this, I just got so demotivated. I found I couldn't be my best. I didn't want to work there anymore. It just didn't even feel good. And the reason I realized afterwards was because I want to be in environments where I can be free. I don't like sitting behind a desk. I don't like just going and following the rules all the time. I like being creative and being different, and that's fine. It's why some people get rid of all their cubicles and actually start working in an open plan space. But freedom is the opposite of this thing here called connection, which is actually the wealth foundation of someone who is at the tempo level. Connection is about knowing, for example, we're connected to our customer. We're connected to what's really happening out there. People up here don't need that at all. In fact, they like disconnecting. They like coming with a whole new set of rules. But on this side here, they really want to make sure that everyone's looked after. And if you don't respect that, if when you have someone come on board that you want to give good service, you want them to be looking after things, and once they join you, you say, look, we're going to keep on changing it. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. And they go, but how are we going to look after people? We keep on changing. It's like, don't worry, they'll catch up. They'll leave you. The very people you want to help ground things will leave you if you don't give them a space that's grounded. And there's always a way to do that. There's always a way to say, right, you're going to be the one in charge of these group here. I'm not even going to interfere there. You find the best way to look after them. And I'll keep on bringing new people your way. But make sure you're not overloaded and make sure we've got the resources to look after everybody. And then they'll stay and they'll then flourish in ways they couldn't, because up this area, you're always creating new things. Same on this side and this side. In the same way you have freedom and connection, you also have on this side something which is called variety, because the people who are the people love going out and having fun. They love going out and finding new ways to connect with people. They'll do a lot of their work out of the office, and that's absolutely fine. In fact, if they end up having to do the same thing every day and not having that variety, at some point they'll leave you. So give them that ability to do that. Don't hold them too close to the fire, because they already are the fire. And the opposite on here is that on this side is not about variety. It's about certainty. These are based on the human needs. And these are 4 of the human needs. Certainty and variety are opposites. And you'll find on this side, they don't want the variety. They want things to be certain. I'll share how this helped with myself and my wife, Renata. My wife, Renata, she's an accumulator profile. So for her, her biggest values are certainty and connection. Mine, as a creator, is freedom. I love freedom. I love going out expressing myself in new ways. But I would find in my 20s, before I really understood this, that every time I said to Renata, I've got this new idea, she would go, here you go again, another idea. Save the world or change the world again. And you know what? I would feel really bad about that. I'll go, why do you have to say things like that? That really affects me, because for me, this is like really important to do something new. She goes, but everything's important to do new things. And we'd end up in an argument about this. It was only later we both realized that when she was sharing the way she was sharing, what was happening was she was taking away, in my mind, my freedom to express in new and different ways. But even worse, the way I was then sharing back was missing the point that by me sharing in that way, that there was something new which was going to unsettle everything, by even sharing that, was taking away her sense of certainty or her sense of connection she needed with me. Once we realize this, then we can talk each other's language. So now, anytime I'm going to start anything new, I said, hey, honey, I've got this idea of doing this. But look, doing this, I could see that this could actually really help us as a family to make this happen or make that happen. What do you think? And get her input on that at that point, because I'm already talking about the benefits of doing that from her point of view. And she'll say, wow, I really like that idea, and it'd be great if we could do this with that as well. Hey, let's do that at this point, and by the way, go out and do this right now, because she knows how important the freedom is to give me the space to make those things happen. So there's always an element of making this work. Very funny, my daughter, when she first outlined her profile, because you can really start the profiling from a young age, she was, I think 9 or 10 years old when she first did the profiling. And when she did it, she found out that she was over here, star profile. Now, and these were the days where her and her mother kind of had some issues with each other. They were in conflict all the time. And so When she found out she was star, I said, how did that feel? And she goes, well, what's mom? And I go, oh, well, she's going to later. And straight away, Kathleen's looking at that and going, what, she's the opposite to me? And I'm like, yep. And she goes, well, that explains everything. Kids get this, and we all intuitively get this ourselves as well, that we all have different values that really allow us to flourish. And one of your jobs as a leader is that as you build your team, make sure that you aren't creating environments which are all one kind of environment. Create an open plan environment, guess what? Those people who are the steel, the tempo, will feel very uncomfortable in that environment because they don't get the area to concentrate. Create one space which is cubicles or detail areas that are quiet. Create another space which is a nice calm environment where you can serve people. Create a space which is very creative and a space where people can get on the phones and feel really great about the results they're getting speaking to people. Create multilingual spaces, environments that actually work for you. You'll be amazed at the difference that everything takes place. Do not do the number one thing that people that work on their own in small groups do, which is do everything on one desk, or even worse, everything in one home office. Create different spaces which allow you to then shape every single day as a kaleidoscope of different energies that support the right people in the right way. Okay, let's take one more step on this, and then I'll show you how you build your team. The next step I want to show you is that this is not just about creating a foundation, it's about giving you vision. That there are also 5 different elements when it comes to vision. And those 5 elements, and I'm talking now about vision, is about opposites as well, where you're going to find that on the top end here, there is a type of vision which the people who are asking the question what the dynamos are really good at. And it's a vision which is called, should I start a new? I think I should. This is getting a bit busy here. I'm going to start a new one here, where vision is going to be the top part, depth of vision. Depth of vision at the top is called perspective. Dynamo energy have perspective. I can sit down and I can write a 5-year plan for a particular business, and I can take bits of information from here or there, but that comes naturally to me. But I'm not so good as the opposite, which is not depth of vision, it's breadth of vision. The number of days I wake up and I've got odd socks on. The number of days that I miss all the detail around me. This one here, called perception, is a different type of vision that tempo energy are very good at, and it's the opposite. Depth of vision, breadth of vision. Think of it like a garden hose. You put the jet on. This is the jet. It can reach a long way, but it can't get much on the sides. So the attention of the people here are where are we going in the future, but they will miss a lot of the issues around them in the business. That might be you, or you might be here at the autumn energy, where it's perception, very good at spotting all the things that need to be done around, but not going to be the one that's going to be able to see 5 years in the future, because you're sensing everything around you today. So this is sensory and intuitive. 2 different types of vision. And in the same way that a garden hose can have depth or breadth, which is connection or freedom, you're also going to find that it can be warm or cold. And that's where the 2 sides here come in. So for example, on this side here, this is all about something called clarity. And you will find that if you're looking for clarity in your team, having someone on this side really is very helpful. Someone who's on the metal side, someone who's a lord, a mechanic, winter energy. And clarity allows you to get certainty. But the opposite of clarity, think about it like a photographer. They'll take black and white photos to get the clearest photos. The opposite of black and white, obviously, is color. And color is a very different sense. It's one where you bring color into the team, where you bring variety into the team. And that's what the blaze energy, the people are so good at doing as well. This allows us to see that within a team, you can build a team which is not just about different people who are all running businesses. This is about different people within your team where each one of them has got a number one talent. The number one talent of someone who's a creator is obviously to create. But to create is very different from what a trader does, which is to relate. So traders, again, a trader is someone that could be able to relate very well with someone. They're not going to be saying, well, that's a great idea, but I've got another idea. They're going to be listening in and asking questions. So relate and create are 2 opposites. You're going to find in the same way that here, this person here is not just about reading. The supporter is someone who can personalize. And personalize is something Jack Welch did very well. Personalize by saying, I'm going to look after each person as an individual. In fact, in his book, Straight from the Gut, he talks about how he had to personalize his leadership because everyone was treated as a number in the early days of General Electric, which is the opposite over here, which is standardized. That's something that a Lord's very good at. They'll create the standards, they'll create the processes, the policies. I would always look for accountants and people who can actually work on the auditing and the analyst side on this side here because they're very good at being able to make sure the details are all in place. So these are opposite. You need different people providing clarity and color. And then this person here is a mixture of create and personalize. They do something called personify, which is they become the creation. Stars do that. They can personify. And personify is the opposite of clarify, which is what you will find accumulators can do very well. A lot of times, accumulators are your very best project managers because they can clarify what needs to be done and when it needs to be done. You find that sometimes the best people to have in brainstorming meetings because you feel the brainstorming meeting with creators and stars, they'll come up with lots of ideas, but they forget to write any of them down. Whereas you'll find that the accumulator writes all of them down and has even prioritized them for you. And then, of course, you have the final two here, which is connect, which is what deal makers do so well, and reflect, which is about being able to reflect back to everybody, here is now where we are. And so these 8 different roles have got 8 different talents, and you can build your team in the right way to make this work. Let me give you something which is called the 1, 2, 3 formula. And after giving the 1, 2, 3 formula, you'll see how every $1 million team has ever been built in any organization and how you can do the same as well in building your one. And after I've gone through that, I'm going to be sharing about the fact that by the time we get to this third video, on the third video, I'll be going through the 5 biggest pitfalls, the 5 biggest mistakes that entrepreneurs make, so that even using these kind of ideas to really bring the best out of everyone together to really achieve your success is still so easy to get it wrong. But first, let me just show you the 1, 2, 3 strategy. The 1, 2, 3 strategy is about the fact that wherever you happen to be, count that as the number 1. The next person you really should be looking for when you're ready to really grow your business is the person 2 steps along. So let's say, for example, I'm here as a creator. The person I really need to have for my business in order for me to really grow it is this person, 1, 2. Here's the 1, here's the 2. That's a supporter profile. Every one of my businesses that I have that's growing successfully without me has a supporter leading that business. And the reason that's so important is because if I had another creator running the business, they'll create all over again. And then as a result of that, I'll end up with something very different from what I'm looking for. And more importantly, I won't have the person who's right to lead the team. But if I've got a creation and I find someone who's very good at leading from that creation, then I'll end up with a very successful business. It's a bit like pass the parcel, where I have a primary profile, creator. I have 2 secondary profiles, which are like my wings, which are the mechanic and the star. And in the same way, a supporter is able to actually reach out either side, and so we're connected along this line. And that allows us to get to our third person, because all teams come in 3s, partnerships comes in 2s. And the third person is 1, 2, 3. This is why it's called the 1, 2, 3 formula. The third person here is the accumulator. And we'll always look for an accumulator to join the team so that we'll have the right structures and we'll have the right financial management in place. They'll capture by having their secondary here, and all 3 of us cover the square. Think of these as 3 legs to a stool, where if this is a stool, that is a stable pattern in a way that if I had 3 people up here, the stool would very quickly fall over. So for many of us, we go out looking for people just like ourselves to join our team, and then we'll wonder why the team's so weak to truly execute as a business. Once we realize that the people we're looking for are different from us, but complementary, then we can start to see very quickly that 3 people is the minimum it takes to have a really strong team. And of course, from there, you can add others into the team as well. This is the same for any of the other profiles. If I was a star profile, the first person I look for is a deal maker. It's what every sports star has done. It's what every movie star has done. It's what Oprah did when she found her deal maker. That was the beginning of her true success. And then the next person for a star would be the Lord, because that creates also this triangle, which makes it a solid stool. And that Lord would be the one that would actually be doing all the analytics. And it's the same for every other one as well. So there's a way for you to build your team. And of course, if you're not looking to build your team at this point, but you want to join someone else's team, of course, you can see if you are, for example, a supporter, you might go look for a creator that's looking for a supporter. And then straight away, you become a value in ways you cannot by trying to work on your own. So this is all about flow, creating flow. By the way, final thing I want to share is, like I said in the very first video, there is a 5th element. And the 5th element is applying also to the idea of a team. That here, a 5th element has got a different level of vision and a different foundation. The wealth foundation for the 5th element, which is the spirit element, which is the who, is our ability to ask the question why, is all about growth. Growth and contribution. It's our ability to say that we've got to constantly grow, we have to constantly contribute. And once we set that as our metric, then we also get to the fifth element of vision. Because the fifth element of vision is not something to do with sight. If you ever have a chance to come here to Vision Villas, and it's called Vision Villas because it is about getting vision. It's also about giving vision. So we're connected to the John Fawcett Foundation, and we contribute here in Bali to actually giving Balinese their eyesight back through cataract surgeries, which take place through the John Fawcett Foundation and their organization Bali Eye. But what we do here also at this resort is we actually, as well as contribute to that, we also allow people to get vision by coming on programs that we run here. And we have a little statue that you'll find when you come here, which is of Buddha in a Sufi pose. They actually have closed all of their sight. They've kneeled over. They can't hear. They can't see. They can't speak. It's a little bit like the quote we have outside from Helen Keller, who also couldn't hear, couldn't see, couldn't speak. But she had extraordinary vision because she had the one which was right in the center. And the quote outside is that life is either a daring adventure or nothing. It comes not from sight, but from something in the center, which is the fifth element of vision, which is insight. It's realizing that just like a candle, all of Wealth Dynamics and building the $1 million team is not about how you're making money. It's how you're helping other people make money. It's how you're building a team in such a way that, like a candle has wax, which pretty much every time you take away some wax and give it to someone else, you've got less wax. So it becomes a zero-sum game where we're all trying to take from each other. But a candle also has the second part, which is the flame. And the key thing is knowing that it costs a candle nothing to light a candle. That this is about your flame, not your wax. It's about knowing that you can light another, and as you light another, you suddenly realize what the point of the candle is, which is to illuminate. It's to let, by lighting one after another, the people around you, let the whole world shine. So on that note, I'm going to bid you farewell from this video. I hope you can take some of those tools and from the 8 questions we went through, reorganize your day, set it up for success, and start going out to see where you can be of most value to other people in their team and who is going to be of most value in your team. Most importantly, set your wealth foundation, set your vision, and don't expect you're going to do it all on your own. There are others around you that are there to share the journey with you as well. And then I will see you in our third and final video in the coming days.